two ancient civilizations, two modern giants. One economic future. On one side stands China, the factory of the world, master of mega infrastructure, architect of the fastest industrial expansion in human history. On the other side rises India, the world's largest democracy, a digital powerhouse and the fastest growing major economy of the decade. One built speed, the other builds scale through democracy. One grew through manufacturing dominance. The other grows through services and technology. The question that defines Asia's future, and perhaps the world's, is this: will India catch China, or is China already too far ahead? Tonight on KIYO Documentary, we break down GDP, demographics, debt, innovation, geopolitics, trade power, and the strategic moves shaping the next economic superpower. Stay with us, because the answer is more complex than headlines suggest. China is currently the world's second-largest economy in nominal GDP and the largest in purchasing power parity. Its rise since economic reforms in 1978 has been historic. Under the centralized guidance of the Communist Party of China, China transformed from an agrarian economy into an industrial superpower in just 4 decades. India, meanwhile, has emerged as one of the fastest-growing major economies. Guided by institutions like the Ministry of Finance and Monetary Authority from the Reserve Bank of India, India has maintained macroeconomic stability while expanding digital and infrastructure capacity. China's GDP remains significantly larger in absolute terms, but India's growth rate has often been higher in recent years. The gap is wide, but momentum matters. China is the undisputed manufacturing hub of the world. Electronics, steel, solar panels, batteries, consumer goods. China's industrial ecosystem operates at massive scale. Megaports, integrated supply chains, and state-backed industrial policy created unmatched export strength. India's economy is more service-driven. IT services, software exports, digital payments, and pharmaceuticals represent key strengths. Cities like Bengaluru became global tech centers. Instead of factory floors, India built code and consultancy networks. But this is shifting. India is pushing manufacturing through incentive schemes to attract global companies seeking diversification beyond China. China built the factory of the world. India aims to become the alternative. In 2023, India became the world's most populous country. Unlike China, which faces a shrinking and aging population, India has a young demographic profile. This youth dividend could power consumption and labor supply for decades. China's one-child policy legacy now presents economic pressure. Fewer workers supporting more retirees. Productivity must compensate for demographic slowdown. Demographics alone don't guarantee growth, but they shape long-term potential. China's infrastructure expansion is legendary. High-speed rail networks, megacities, industrial corridors built at unprecedented speed. India's infrastructure development, though accelerating, follows a more complex democratic process. land acquisition, state coordination, and regulatory structures slow execution but strengthen institutional accountability. China executes rapidly through centralized authority. India balances speed with democracy. China's rapid growth relied heavily on debt-driven investment, particularly in real estate and local government financing. Property sector instability revealed vulnerabilities within the model. India's banking system faced its own stress cycles but implemented reforms, including bankruptcy frameworks and bank recapitalization. Debt-to-GDP levels differ in composition and structure. China's risk lies in internal leverage. India's risk lies in infrastructure financing and fiscal management. Both must manage debt sustainability carefully. China leads in hardware manufacturing and renewable supply chains. It invests heavily in artificial intelligence, electric vehicles, and advanced manufacturing. India excels in software engineering, digital public infrastructure, and fintech innovation. The digital payments revolution positioned India as a global model in real-time transactions. China pushes industrial tech scale. India pushes digital ecosystem innovation. The next decade may decide which model scales more effectively. China is the largest trading partner for over 120 countries. Its Belt and Road Initiative extends infrastructure influence across continents. India focuses on strategic trade partnerships and supply chain resilience. It strengthens ties with Western economies while maintaining regional influence. China exports infrastructure and goods. India exports services and talent. Geopolitical positioning shapes economic alliances. The Chinese yuan is increasingly used in bilateral trade settlements, but remains controlled under capital regulations. The Indian rupee is freely traded, but does not yet hold major global reserve status. India explores gradual internationalization while maintaining currency stability. Neither currency rivals the US dollar, but regional influence matters. China's centralized governance allows rapid policy shifts and long-term industrial strategy. India's democratic framework requires negotiation, coalition building, and public accountability. One prioritizes efficiency of execution. The other emphasizes institutional resilience. Different systems, different economic rhythms. China's head start is significant. Its infrastructure base, export dominance, and manufacturing ecosystem create structural depth. India's advantages lie in demographics, digital innovation, democratic transparency, and rising global trust among Western economies. Closing the gap would require sustained high-growth manufacturing expansion, education reform, and infrastructure acceleration. But economic power is not static. It evolves. As we conclude this episode of KIYO Documentary, one truth stands clear. This is not simply a race to overtake. It is a transformation of Asia's economic landscape. China represents the peak of state-driven industrial expansion. India represents the rise of digital democracy-led growth. The 21st century may not belong to one alone, but to both, reshaping global power dynamics together. India versus China is not just a comparison. It is the defining economic story of our time. The next 20 years will determine whether India narrows the gap or China solidifies dominance, and the world will adjust accordingly. If you found this deep dive valuable, subscribe to KIYO Documentary, where we decode the power systems shaping our future.